This is a chainsaw. Are you scared? I'm not. So have you ever wondered why the Chainsaw Man is so powerful even though the strength of a devil is determined by people's fear? The more people fear with greater intensity, the stronger is the devil who represents this fear. If you are not afraid of chainsaws and wonder why Pochita could fight and even survive against the gun devil, and the four horsemen devils control hunger, war and death at the same time, then you should definitely watch this video. It's very important because Pochita has the ability to erase devils, which is not an attribute you associate with a chainsaw. Watch until the end to find out which devil Pochita really is. If you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. Please enjoy this video. Let's go! In the world of Chainsaw Man, devils are born out of fear and hell. Therefore, the manifestation of a devil corresponds to the collective understanding of fear. The gun devil looks like a gun, the fox devil looks like a fox. So at first glance, it makes sense that Pochita is a chainsaw devil. However, not only the appearance is based on the fear, but also the devil's abilities, where the abilities can be derived from this fear. For example, the hell devil can teleport people from hell to earth and the other way around. This is because people are afraid of ending up in hell after they die on earth. So this is part of the hell devil's ability. Another example is the darkness devil, who can summon swords. This is not because swords have anything to do with the darkness, but because at some point in human history people associated the fear of swords with darkness. We know that the darkness devil is a primal devil, which means that it is one of the first fears that people ever had. Since primal devils have lived in every era of mankind, their abilities are much more complex and have evolved over time. Thus it does not make sense to consider only attributes that comes from modern time, and consequently only the modern interpretation of this fear. Instead, we need to look at all times in human history. At a certain point in history, for example in the medieval, people were afraid of being attacked by a sword in the dark. Therefore, the darkness devil can summon swords. Now, if we look at Pochita, we can see that while he has the ability of a chainsaw, he also has a very unique and special ability that makes the chainsaw devil so feared in hell. Devil erasure. The chainsaw devil is able to erase other devils, causing the fear they represent to disappear from public consciousness, while also erasing the devil's physical existence. This was proven by the fact that Kishibe knew nothing about historical things like the atomic bomb. This means that at some point the chainsaw devil consumed the respective devils, making the people on earth forget the events that caused this fear and thus the manifestation of the respective devils in hell. But this ability has nothing to do with chainsaws, not even in an abstract way. It is a very specific ability that must come from a very specific fear. So something about Pochita is not what it seems. He can't just be a normal chainsaw devil. For example, we know that people can gain devil abilities by consuming flesh from other devils. At the same time, it looks like this is strongly connected with contracts. We don't know if devils can make contracts with other devils. All that has been confirmed is that fiends cannot make contracts with devils. It has never been mentioned if humans can make contracts with fiends or whether devils can make contracts with other devils. So if we assume it is possible, then there are only three ways a chainsaw devil could have an ability that does not belong to a chainsaw. Either Pochita is not a chainsaw devil and has received the ability of a chainsaw from another devil, or he is the real chainsaw devil but has received the ability to erase devils from another devil. And the last possibility is that Pochita obtained the ability in a similar way that the darkness devil can create swords, which means that this ability to erase devils was born due to an event that can be associated with chainsaws. So let's take a closer look at the ability to understand what fear this ability can represent. Pochita can make fears disappear from the public consciousness by consuming the devil and thus erasing them. But does he erase the devil, causing the fear to disappear, or does he erase the fear, causing the devil to disappear? This is very significant to understand from which fear this ability comes. The causality is important. Devils become stronger when the fear is more intense, not the other way around. So the only way to erase a devil is for the fear to disappear. That is why devils are believed to be immortal, because fear never disappears. However, if there were an ability that erased fears, that would be a method to erase devils. So that speaks more to the ability to erase fears by consuming their representation. But that's not a human fear. Humans are not afraid of not being afraid. That makes no sense. So it must be a fear born from the consciousness of devils, which is obviously the greatest fear a devil can have. The fear that people stop being afraid. If that is what Pochita represents, then it makes sense why he's so powerful, because his strength comes from the only fear devils have. And this is what every single devil is afraid of, because it is the essence of their existence. But that is only the first possibility, the fear extinction devil. The second possibility is that the fear that gives Pochita the ability to erase devils comes not from devils, but from humans. the fear of being forgotten, which is in fact a primal fear. That is, Pochita could erase not only fear and thus devils, but also people. For example, if he eats a person, whereby then no one will remember this person anymore. Of course, we know that something didn't quite work out with Makima in this regard, because Denji consumed her, but she still exists in the form of Nayuta. And for some reason she was even reborn on Earth instead of Hell. And obviously no one has forgotten her. But it might actually be possible that Makima's current life circle didn't start on Earth, but in Hell. So the second she died, she was reborn on Earth. And here lies the problem. Makima must have been eaten alive for the devil erasure ability to work. That is, the cause of death must be that she was eaten by the Chainsaw Devil. But what really happened was that Denji killed Makima, then collected her body and only then ate her when the Control Devil was already reborn. At that moment it no longer mattered that Denji had eaten Makima, because it would only have worked if he ate Nayuta. So this doesn't disprove the idea that Pochita is associated with fear, extinction or being forgotten. Denji just didn't do it correctly. Another indication that Pochita is somewhat connected to the attribute of being forgotten or fear is the door we saw in Denji's consciousness. For a long time we speculated about what this door might represent, until it turned out to be Denji's subconscious protecting himself from the trauma he experienced in his youth. All this time he has been telling himself that his father took his own life, when in reality he was the one who killed him because he was drunk all the time and almost killed Denji. This was such a traumatic experience that Denji forgot about it. But Pochita could sense and understand this in Denji. That could indicate that Pochita knew what was behind the door, because that is part of Pochita's attribute. Denji forced himself to forget something in his life because he was afraid to face reality. Again we have these two aspects, forget and fear. Everything speaks for either the be forgotten devil or the fear extinction devil. Now that we have talked about what fear this attribute might represent, we just need to understand why and how Pochita has an attribute that is not associated with the traditional understanding of a chainsaw. And here I think it is possible that the reason Pochita gained this ability might have something to do with why he slaughtered so many devils in Hell. We know that there was a great war in Hell before the fight between Pochita and the Four Horsemen. Because for this war, for some unknown reason, Pochita is even considered a hero of Hell by many devils, even though he also slaughtered those devils. Here's people like the Shark Devil who are loyal to him even after their rebirth, although they don't even know why they are loyal to him anymore. Devils who were reborn on Earth only remember the sound of the chainsaw engine, which indicates that they were eliminated by the Chainsaw Devil. This means that Pochita decided which devil to erase, such as the Atomic Bomb Devil, and which to simply eliminate so that they could be reborn on Earth, like for example the Shark Devil. In this case he saved them by eliminating them. This is a great mystery, and I believe it is the key to understanding how Pochita gained this ability. But that would make this video way too long, so subscribe to our channel with the notification bell activated so you don't miss the second part of this theory, coming soon. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments and I will answer them all. Don't forget to check out the last Chainsaw Man chapter review, link is in the comments, and come back on Tuesday for the next review. Thanks for watching and see you next time, bye.